I've hosted over 300,000 tourist days across my Airbnbs, and that exact experience is exactly why I don't do it anymore. In this video, I'm going to explain the exact types of properties to buy or rent if you want stable, mid to long term contractor bookings without the chaos that comes with tourist hosting. Okay. So, the first thing is that demand still matters. Okay. Contractors do not need prime locations. The property needs to be where the work is happening, and typically that is not in city centers like most believe. Okay, so they don't need prime locations. However, they do need reliable access to site. So I do think finding properties that are on good connecting motorways or A roads to be able to get to and from the property to their site is fundamental. Now, obviously, you are going to host different types of contractors from different types of projects. So it's very difficult to sort of say, okay, well, I'm going to buy this house here because it's near this current project. But, what happens when that project finishes? So what we have to try and do is position ourselves in a way that we know there's going to be consistent demand. And I think that any city that has over 300,000 populations, it has infrastructure of things like schools, universities. If it's got multiple universities, multiple hospitals, sorry, not schools, then I think that's a real good sign. And those cities tend to be vibrant. So you can then position yourself just outside those city centers, maybe, 5 miles out. That gives you good access to motorways, and ultimately you will be able to pick most of the contractors off that will be in the various projects working in and around that city. Okay, now for me, 5 bed plus bedrooms is the absolute key to this strategy. Okay, so the more rooms, the better revenue per booking, and this is where the economics change slightly. Okay, because shared bills across the different rooms, or the more people, should I say, ultimately means that you can offer out and match what the contractors want to pay. And this is why the smaller properties don't work. And this is why a lot of Airbnb hosts who have 1 beds and 2 beds are constantly whinging and say contractors don't pay enough. They always, want to give you like a really low offer, and their budgets are too tight. Correct. However, when you've got large houses, the numbers actually do work in your favor and it works for them. And that's why it's a great fit. So, one booking literally fills the house for months, not just nights. And when you get that right, obviously the knock on effect of all of the costs in your business dramatically change when you've got less turnovers, you've got, less VAT to pay, you've got, less cleaning, less maintenance. Everything is a huge knock on effect by hosting contractors rather than having 2, 3 night stays with tourists. Okay. Now, the economies of scale really kicks in when you get 5 plus bed houses. And that's where the profitability in this model really comes to the forefront. Now, parking isn't a bonus, it's a requirement. Vans, tools, all that sort of stuff need to be either safe on the driveway that your of your property, or be able to remove them, or be safe on street parking within the vicinity of the property. It's not essential that you have drives, but it is essential that you have free or easy permit parking connected to the property and within very close proximity. Okay. Now, this will filter out a lot of bad stock instantly. If you find a great house, 5, 6 beds, and it's in the right location, but it has permit parking, and it's really faffy to get the permits, or it's got no parking and they've got to go to an NCP, a mile away, just not going to work. Okay. Now, on that front, I avoid city centres. Few reasons why. Obviously, higher prices being one, parking issues another. Short stay competition. Obviously, there's a lot more, smaller properties within city centres, and I would say that contractors actively avoid city centres. They don't really want to be fighting with the traffic on the morning to get out, fighting with the traffic on the evening to get in. They don't want, to be, as I mentioned earlier, having to go find NCP car parks to be able to park up their vans. It's all just a headache and a hassle for them. And that's where, if you can position yourself just on the suburbs of these major cities with large stock, you will win booking after booking after booking. So for me, drive time beats the postcode. Contractors care about ideally 10 to 15 minutes to site with simple routes. And, they like that consistency of knowing where they're going, how easy it is, how to beat the traffic, all that sort of stuff. And the great thing about that is it actually opens up cheaper, higher yielding areas that most hosts ignore, because most hosts are going after these city center apartments that just don't work. You're going to overpay for them, or you're going to over rent, and you're not going to have the economies of scale, and you're going to always be playing the tourism game, which is just a disaster waiting to happen, in my opinion. So hopefully that gives you an insight. It's 100% the strategy I would advocate. It has changed my business model tenfold. And in this next video, I'm going to show you how I went from sub 15% direct bookings to over 79% year on year for the last 3 years. And a lot of it is to do with exactly what we've just talked about in this video.